Right. So, but it doesn't mean we couldn't identify them and then send a letter to all adjacent property owners and say, hey, this property is, or we don't, yeah, we don't believe, that we will have a need for this. Are you interested in purchasing or taking? And of course it's, well, and it's gonna depend on the situation, because I mean, if the property to be vacated is, a third of an acre, we can't just give that away, right? In most cases, if it's a little sliver here or a little pie-shaped piece of, 300 square feet, that's something where we just say, yeah.
All right, it's now 11:30. I'm gonna go ahead and kick off our pre-commission agenda. I'm gonna kick things off with, wishing everyone a happy Valentine's Day. I love seeing all the pink and red abounding in our auditorium today. I also wanted to remind everyone on the commission and staff that we've got that joint meeting with the city of Boise next week on Thursday. It's at City Hall. And we've finalized the agenda, but that should be coming out here soon. But we will be having an update. We will be providing an update to the city on 15th and 16th, what we've been doing so far, what's coming up and what they can expect. And State Street from 14th to 8th Street. We will be having a work session in the near future on where we're at with that, but we also wanted to give them an update because there's a lot of new faces on the city council. So know what's coming and all that good stuff. And then they're going to be giving us a pathways plan update. And we'll talk a little bit about our pathways policy since that's been adopted from last year. So it'll be a really good discussion. And I haven't heard that any of you will be missing it, but let me know if anything comes up, and it should be a really good meeting. But any housekeeping items, questions about the agenda?
Madam President, I just have a quick question. I know the deadline for the general public to submit integrated 5-year work plan happened on Friday, but there's still a chance for neighborhood associations to get their letters in, but it escapes me what the deadline is for the neighborhood associations. And then the cities, they have a deadline to get their letters in. Is it soon?
We'll have to get back to you, sir.
Okay, because I can't remember what the other organizations are, but the general public one, the interactive map is still up there, but it's not interactive. You can't add your notes now. Is that correct? Yeah. So, but I have already seen a couple neighborhood letters, and I know they're coming in.
Thanks for the reminder.
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney.
I do have one question on the consent agenda, and this is a very quick question on item number 4. The disposal of traffic signal surplus property. I'm just curious, I didn't see in the staff report any sort of estimate of what is the value of this equipment that we're planning to donate. Do we have an approximate number? And what's going to be the cost of replacement of it?
Well, Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, I don't think there's a value for replacement. These are they've been around for a very, very long time. We've been storing them, and there is zero utility to the district.
For the most part, these are things that have already been replaced, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no kind of salvage value that we could point to?
I think that the value in it is providing it to the Computers for Kids organization, and these are things where they can take basically just the pieces, and they work with controllers and such out there to teach kids how this works. So from my perspective, the value is really zero, but the value for learning and such for the kids is much higher. That's why we do that sort of thing.
Okay. So I guess what you're saying is there really is no salvage market for this kind of equipment.
No, we've been storing this for years and years right now, and we finally got a good push to let's get them out of the thing, let's get them in the hands of some educators and kids that may be able to use this.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Director. And we did have a request from Knife River to move item number 3 on the consent agenda to a regular agenda. So I would appreciate a motion to make that adjustment when we approve the consent agenda.
And Madam President, if I could make a recommendation, if you'd make item number 3.
Oh, 3? Okay. Sounds good. Okay. All right. Any other questions about the agenda? Okay, Director.
Madam President, Commissioners, good morning. Great to see you here, all here on a Valentine's Day, and I'll let you know that yesterday I think we delivered over 800 carnations to many members of our teams, plus a lot of chocolate. So as you know, we take every opportunity to celebrate everything here at the Ada County Highway District. This morning, our leadership ACHD team is at the legislature. Today is Legislature Day. They're spending the entire their day there visiting with the House, visiting with the Senate, visiting with one of the governor's staffs, understanding how this process may work and such as we go forward. And they'll be back later today. But it's another training scenario that we think is very important when we have those upcoming leaders here at the Ada County Highway District, have at least an initial understanding of what the legislature process is and who the legislature really is. In front of you, I have given you just an updated copy of the Highway 16 costs, and what we did, we added the reasons why. I think that might be helpful for you in your discussions, if you have any of those sort of things with other folks, as to why you see costs from 3 years ago to today, what that might entertain. So with that, can you bring up the presentation, please? Commissioners, very happy to be in front of you today to share with you something brand new. As you know, the legacy Ada County Highway District produced something annually called a jurisdictional report. And as you recall, this was really a very mathematical, here it is, have a good day sort of presentation. You asked us to take a look and see how we could either expand or change this to make it a little bit more encompassing across all of Ada County. So I believe we've done that. We have rebranded the jurisdictional report. It's now the operations report. And so I'd like to walk you through this. And if you are good with this, then our next step will be to share this with the mayors, the media, as we always do, ensure transparency across the board. I'd like to thank both Commissioner Pickering and Commissioner Gold for your insights on this, and I think we've included those. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we did. So with that, next slide, please. So as we want to start off with highlights for the year as an operations report. Next, please. Thought it'd be very important to share with the media the tremendous job that our team and you have done regarding fiscal responsibility. And as you can see, and we've already shared this with you earlier, but at the end of the day, that is an amazing audit report. And I think that goes very, very well and in line with a summary to all of our constituents as to the focus we have when it comes down to fiscal responsibility. Next slide, please. We want to give a quick review of maintenance and such. And as you can see, a lot of miles, but that value continues, I think, is important to remind the community on as to the worth of the infrastructure that we are responsible for moving forward. And you've seen this most of this before. Next slide, please. Development activity for the year. Lots of things going on, and I think this speak very, very well to the intensity of operations here within the district. Next slide, please. And then I think it's important to, again, continue to accentuate our rapid implementation team as to the projects that they have done and the projects that are on the books. Next slide, please. I think it's also important to share with them the struggles and the challenges that the Ada County has faced regarding the number of accidents across the board. I think not doing that is we're not being transparent and such with operations. Next, please. For plans and projects, we wanted to highlight in 23 the projects that are under construction, in plans, review across the board, to include those federal projects, those big major federal projects across that the Ada County Highway District has had the opportunity to participate in and move forward on. So as you can see, that is, it shows that the Ada County Highway District has been very busy this last year. Next slide, please. Continuing with plans. This is just a look at some of the important things. Well, they're all important, but I mean, some of the ADA requirements, safe routes to schools, pedestrians, bicycle facilities, and such that the district has completed year to date, basically when it's all said and done. Next, please. We wanted to share with the public again the review that we just received when it came down to the quality of the infrastructure. And as you can see, it's absolutely the best. And those 3 cities out there have a lot of sunshine and no snow. And such. So I think that's a good report card for the public to review. Next slide, please. So for 23, again, that chart shows where dollars were invested by the public and where dollars were invested by the commission. But in addition to this, we wanted to, at least for this slide, show what some of the major projects were in each of the 6 cities and the county. Now, this, of course, is not anywhere near all of them, but it just gives a flavor of where these projects are. Next, please. Then, as we looked at the, a 4-year, 5-year spread, we wanted to then take that investment specifics, pair it to a chart that shows graphically where things have been implemented, and then again list just a few, but those major projects per city, per Ada County. Next. And then taking a broader look over time, and such from an operations perspective, we wanted again to show investment and then graphically where those investments are. And as you can see, it's getting bigger and bigger, and it spans all parts of Ada County. And once again, list those major projects on the side per city and then for the county. Next, please. And then for the looking into the future as to what's on the books, we're doing the same methodology. That's the investment strategy and projected investment strategy. And again, there is the chart that shows, again, across all of Ada County where all these projects are and how they are not just in one spot. And of course, listing out those major projects that your team is working toward. Next, please. And then finally, just an overarching from 2009 to 2028. That's what it looks like. That's where investment has been. That's where investment is going into. And it does give a very good picture of a regional perspective of investment from the Ada County Highway District to all of our customers. And then finally, I thought we'd end, next slide please, with a look ahead to the budget right now. And we wanted to put out the numbers, of course, but then the benefits to the motoring public when it comes down to operations, capital, and total across the board. As you can see, those are pretty good percentages that we're investing in when it comes down to the primary use of motor vehicles. So with that, next slide, please. That's it. That's the proposed annual update. And if you are good with that, then we will share it with our other partners, and we will make sure it goes out to the media. And there's probably some pretty good points for all of you as you continue on with your discussions with your fellow elected officials.
Thank you, Director. Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but these charts do not show the revenue received within those geographic boundaries?
Yes, they do.
They do?
Yes.
Is it just property taxes or a combination?
Combination.
Okay. Well, we can probably expect some complaints then.
Yeah.
Commissioner Hanson?
Madam President, just a thought as we move forward, because our major projects, you sort of over that period of time since 2009, our really big projects have gradually moved further west. And the reality is it's increasingly providing facilities for the benefit of people who live and do business in Canyon County and points to the west. And it would be a good analysis just to show, the taxpayers, the investment from businesses in Ada County is providing a benefit to the larger Treasure Valley. And I think that helps to show, look, we're providing this infrastructure that is used by people throughout the Treasure Valley. If there's some sort of analysis that could be done to show that, because increasingly that's kind of where the investments are happening. Our whole discussion of the impacts of the State Highway 16 shows that there's going to be just a huge amount of investment in that corridor right along the county line, and as we know, that will significantly impact, provide facilities for folks outside the county, which we don't have jurisdiction over, but just to help show that we're about working with the whole Treasure Valley and the whole state to provide this infrastructure. So I don't know how you could do that in terms of the operational analysis, but it seems like we're poised to be able to do that analysis now.
Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, I share I don't know how we do that at this point in time, but that's something we can definitely look at. And as you already know, and I know that our tremendous team member from Napa is here, we are looking, dependent upon funding, on partnering with other operations across the board. But I've got a note of that, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Thanks, Director.
Madam
Commissioner
President?
McKinney?
Yeah, on that very last, I think it was the last slide, showing the different proportions of funding that are used, that parenthetical primary benefit of motorist, I know that that's something that the legislature and others are very interested in, and I wonder if they would be interested in if we could expand on that. That is to say, look at what are the relative proportions, meaning here's the proportion of our capital improvement funds that are going in this direction. Here are the proportions that are going in this direction, so that rather than just seeing that word primary, they can see the actual picture. I think that could be helpful. I think there are many who would be interested in that.
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, we can definitely look at that as a follow-on for this. The objective here, and thank you, good point, is to, from a simplistic perspective, just say, and from a regional perspective, here's what we know, here's what we did, and here's what it looks like from a macro look going forward. Because I know that, as you know, the legislature has been very specific on their statutory requirement to the district, and this, at least from my perspective, it gives the district an opportunity to say, we got it, here it is, here are the facts. And then we can get into those details if there's more appetite for that. But I think those, again, for this specific output for the district, I would recommend at this point just keeping it at that level, and then but following up as you suggested, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam President.
Commissioner Gold?
Thanks, Director. This is a much more comprehensive view of the work that we do all across the county, and I appreciate your work on it.
Thank you.
Looks great. All right, thanks, Director.
Okay. I'm going to make an assumption, and you're going to do that, though, that based on the discussion, you're okay with us releasing this moving forward, at least as an initial go.
Yes.
All right. Madam President, that is my director's report for the day. I can stand for any questions you might have, and you have a couple minutes.
I don't see any questions for you, so
Okay.
we'll be at ease until then.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's now 12 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us for this meeting. Please join us in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first order of business is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next order of business is to adopt the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered routine and are action items unless otherwise noted. The consent agenda is enacted by one motion. There is no separate discussion on items on the consent agenda. If a commissioner or citizen would like, they may request any item be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Commissioners, do I have a motion?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney.
we have received a request to move item 3 from the consent agenda and make it item 3 on the regular agenda. And with that change, I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so moving on to our regular agenda. Our first item is the name of plow presentation. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam President, Commissioners. I'm Rachel Bjornstad, the Public Information Officer here at the Ada County Highway District, standing in for Shandy this afternoon to celebrate our Name a Plow winners. So this will be pretty quick, but I wanted to give just a brief history. We've been wanting to do the Name a Plow competition for a few years, finally decided this was our year to do it. We launched it in December. We opened it up to the public. We had more than 3,000 submissions, so a very good response. Some of the responses from the public included a lot of celebrity names like Scoop Dog, Taylor Drift, along those lines. We also had Plowy McPlowface, which is kind of a common theme among naming competitions these days. And so after that, we opened it up to the public, and we found our 3 winners from our public contest. And then we held a contest for ACHD employees. So some of our employees submitted Betty Whiteout, Darth Vader, and one of the more popular ones was Snowmageddon, which is obviously very near and dear to us here at the Highway District. And so that's how we figured out our names. We had, of course, hoped to be doing an unveiling ceremony before they went out. We were thinking, you know, after the holidays, things would slow down and it would be quiet here at the district. But as you'll recall, about the beginning of January, we had a pretty big snow event. And so our plows needed to be out 24/7 for multiple days. So we're very glad that things have calmed down so far. Knock on wood, they stay that way at least for the rest of this season. And before I give the certificates, I just want to say a few thank yous. First and foremost to our maintenance team, specifically Fleet first, because we had the fun part of reading all the names. They had the part of trying to figure out how to put the name on the plow in a way that it would stick. As you can imagine, all the snow and mud and salt and grime, they were trying to find a way to put the decals on so that they would last for more than one season. And so far, so good. So thank you to our Fleet team. Thank you also to the drivers who played along. Also thanks to ACHD employees for playing along. And also would like to thank the commission for making events like this possible. Of course, it is fun, but there is an element beyond that, and that is the safety element. We hope that highlighting the plows and helping the plows become more visible through the names, that as people see them, they're reminded that, hey, this is a big piece of machinery and it's really important to keep your distance, not pass them on the right, all of the safety stuff that we've been trying to bring home. So each of our 4 winners are here. We're very happy that they took the time to come out here today. They will each get a signed certificate. We actually sent them up to Chippy Rhodes to the North Pole so that he could frame them and sign them. So you are getting certificates signed by our resident elf on the shelf himself. They also get a $100 gift card, and we have some other ACHD swag for them. And moreover, they get the bragging rights that they got to name the first plows for our inaugural ACHD contest. So I'm going to call up each of the 4 winners. You can pick up your certificates, and then what I'd like to do, Commission, is grab a quick photo after they're all presented, get a quick photo with everybody, and then we will head across the street and get some, so that they can take a picture with some of their plows and get to see them. And then one more thing, I would also like to thank Boise State. As you guys may know, one of the winners the names was Ashton Genty. So we like to give a shout out to Boise State as well, because they really helped promote our Name a Plow contest by having some fun with us, with Ashton Genty, who's known as Mr. Plow on the blue turf. So we're very happy to have them here, along with Mike Walsh, who's our winner. We also have Jeremiah Dickey, who's the athletic director here or at Boise State. So we'll start, we'll have everyone come up. First, we have our employee winner, which is Josh Krill. And his submission was the Big Leplowski. Next, we have Trevin Meredith of Eagle. And his submission was Snow Tato. Next, we have Christina Strobe of Meridian. And her submission was Control Salt Delete, like the keyboard. And then last but not least, we have Mike Walsh. He submitted by far the most popular name for our contest, which was, of course, Ashton Genty. And Boise State also produced a little video as well, where they put Ashton's face on in front of a snowplow. So it was to the Simpsons theme song of Mr. Plow. So if you get a chance, you should check that out as well. So thank you for submitting, and thank you, Commission, for making events like this possible. And now if you would like to come up, we can grab a quick photo with everyone. You guys want to stand? We can have the Commission come behind you guys. Yeah, so we'll take Yeah, the Commission can be up, and then you guys can be in front. We'll have you switch just a little bit over. All right, I'll be squeezing a little bit more. Just a little more, Mike. Awesome, ready? Just a couple. Awesome, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna move on to item number 2, and that's the vacation and it's a public hearing and adoption of resolution number 2413 to vacate a portion of public right-of-way. This is an open hearing, so I'm gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. Mr. Serdar.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. Just make sure I have this on. For the record, David Serdar, right-of-way supervisor for Ada County Highway District. As was said, this is a public hearing and decision briefing for a vacation. The proposed vacation, ACHD, received an application from Jerry Dunn, the Jerry Dunn Family Trust. The vacation area is roughly 1,959 square feet. It did have an appraised value of $58,770. We have, as a staff, received the $2,500 application fee. As you can see, this is kind of the vicinity map of the area. This is kind of in the hilly section of Boise. So there's a lot of elevation changes, which I think probably led to some of the situations that led to this vacation. This is a close-up view of the vacation. As you can see, the vacation, it's really just intended to match the right-of-way more as it exists in front of the Dunn residence or the Dunn property. It is staff recommendation that the commission adopt and sign resolution 2413 as the applicant has completed all commission and staff requirements. I will remain standing for any comments or questions.
Thanks, Dave. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Okay.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney.
Dave, just a quick question. Does the applicant have specific intentions for doing something different with the property than is already being done, or is it simply trying to, clear title to this particular piece of land that's already being used in a particular way?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, I believe that you can ask the property owner because they're here.
Okay.
But from our discussions in right-of-way with them, this is really just about kind of matching up the property lines with what the road was actually built. The road wasn't quite where the road was built not quite where it was platted. And that was done a long time ago, I think before anybody that's probably here in this room was a part of the district, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions for staff, love it to invite the applicant up if he's ready to speak.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. I'll keep this very brief. As Dave mentioned, I acquired the house about 4 years ago and figured out that there was kind of a mess in terms of property lines. So my intent is to clean up the property lines so that someday if I go to sell it, I don't have a problem with clean title and sort of how it's all set up. So just want to make it clear, just simple for that. I would like to discuss sort of the appraised value and request that perhaps it's waived or discounted for kind of 4 reasons. Number one, I feel like there was just an honest mistake made in terms of how the Sherman Street actually got put in and the property line itself, to no fault of anyone, but it happened prior to me acquiring the property. Number two, the sliver of land, in my opinion, is really not usable. It's really just a right of way and just trying to clean it up. Number three, that sliver of land that ACHD owns has been maintained by the prior homeowner as well as myself for many years now at no cost to ACHD. And then finally, a handful of improvements have been made to that sliver of land at my cost, which were landscaping and retaining walls. And so I feel like for those reasons, I would, request that the appraised value either be waived or highly discounted. But I appreciate you looking at this, and I hope to get this cleaned up. There's a lot of issues in that little area, and I finally figured out how to try to hopefully attack it.
And you're Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for Mr. Dunn? Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Just a comment. We entertain these every once in a while, and we're happy to see the property go back on the property tax rolls. And we're really grateful that people like you actually maintain them so that we don't have to. And, we're more than happy to entertain what you're asking for. In fact, we probably already have mentally.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, this is an action item.
Madam President, I would move to vacate. I have to get it right. Vacate the property, number 2413, resolution 2413, to vacate a portion of the property on East Sherman Street, and to waive the appraised value.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Commissioner McKinney?
Madam President, yes, I think, there are many cases, I think, where waiver of the property cost is certainly appropriate and other cases where a negotiation is appropriate. In this case, the property owner will now have a larger property, which will presumably increase its market value by some amount. I can certainly understand the comment that the appraised value might be beyond actual value. But it seems to me that this would be something where the district and the property owner should be able to negotiate a fair amount, taking into account all market considerations. So I'm not certain that this is the case that qualifies for simply waiving it. Rather, the district and the homeowner should, and I don't know, are we obligated at this point to agree upon the amount, or can we simply agree to the vacation and then indicate that the value can be negotiated with the property owner?
Hi, Madam President, Commissioners. For the record, Steve Price, General Counsel. You most certainly could defer it to a future date if that's the will of the Commission. And staff can negotiate with the property owner on evaluation. So,
Okay.
But it is a key element before granting a vacation.
To have that number decided.
Yeah, there are two standards, whether it's in the public's best interest and whether the Commission decides whether to impose a fee for the cost or the value of the right-of-way.
Okay. Then in that case, Madam President, I would like to offer a substitute motion to defer this item for, I suppose, 1 week to allow the district and the property owner to negotiate on the value of the property.
There's some substitute motion on the table. Is there a second? Your motion dies for lack of a second. Any other discussion on the original motion?
Madam President, as the maker of the
Hanson.
motion, I just want to appreciate Mr. Dunn for doing this. We've had discussions over many years. I certainly have had these discussions with Mr. Serdar. ACHD owns an enormous amount of property, remnant pieces of property that really should be on the tax rolls and should be taxed as private property. And but we have a process where we tend to have to wait until someone brings it to our attention. So in the past, we have waived the assessed value in order to encourage as an incentive to people to come forward, pay the initial $2,500 application fee, go through this process, and then we can do that. Because the more property that is not of any value to the public that is on the private rolls, the better. Because of course, we're an agency that's heavily dependent on property taxes to pave the streets and run those snowplows we just named. So I just want to express my appreciation to Mr. Dunn for coming forward and doing this, and for you and the predecessor owners for maintaining a piece of public property all these years in the kind of value that you're now receiving it and will be taxed on.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No?
Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Dunn. All right, so moving to item number 3, which was previously item number 3 on the consent agenda, and that is the bid rejection, for Lake Hazel Road and Eagle Road, Lake Hazel to Amity Road, project number 319050 and 521043. Welcome, Scott.
Madam President, members of the commission, thank you. For the record, Scott Spears, Assistant General Counsel for the Ada County Highway District. And I would just like to introduce this topic for the benefit of the public. On December 6th, the ACHD opened the bids for this project. On December 13, the Ada County Highway District Commission awarded the project to Staker Parsons Idaho Materials Construction. Following that award, an informal bid protest came forward questioning whether or not Idaho Materials Construction's electrical contractor had the proper licensing for the bid that IMC had accepted and submitted to ACHD. Research indicated that the electrical contractor did not have the proper licensing, and therefore the quote and the bid to ACHD was invalid and in violation of state law. And for that reason, staff recommends that the commission acknowledge formally that the contract that was subsequently awarded is void, and that the commission reject all bids that were submitted, and that the commission direct the staff to rebid the project. And then yesterday, Knife River, one of the three bidders on the project, submitted a letter to the commission asking that Knife River be awarded the contract, stating that they, although they used Alloway for their subcontractor, that they feel like through negotiations with Alloway subsequent to receiving and accepting Alloway's bid, quote, that they were able to negotiate a point so that Alloway's costs were then below the threshold for licensure, for that AA licensure that Alloway was possessing. Staff has reviewed the letter and this matter in general, and maintains our recommendation that the commission reject all bids and rebid the project. Main reason being that Knife River's bid is almost $2 million over the engineer's estimate. It's $1 million over the bid that Idaho Materials Construction submitted. And so we believe that it's in the public interest and the taxpayers' interest to rebid this project and see what happens.
Thank you, Scott. Commissioners,
And
is there, oh,
it's my understanding that Knife River is here to
Yes.
address its letter.
Commissioners, is there any questions for Scott before I invite Mr. Smith to speak to this?
Madam President?
Commissioner McKinney?
Scott, just let me clarify. Based on what we have seen and discussed previously as a commission in our executive session last week when we first considered this, it appears to me, and tell me if this is an accurate statement, that under current statutory law, Idaho law, the statutes prevent us from doing anything other than what we're proposing here. Is there any way that we could lawfully, Knife River has a request, and it seems to me that from what we've seen, we cannot lawfully follow that request. Is that an accurate statement?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, well, the case law suggests that the commission has two options, that it could award the bid to the next lowest responsive contractor, or it could reject the bids and start over. That is out of the case law as to what your options are. However, in this case, given the pricing, it's recommended by staff that the commission reject the bids and start over and direct a rebid.
So we are not legally precluded, I should say, from doing what Knife River is asking. But the recommendation is that in the interest really of the highway district, we should not.
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, yes, that is correct.
Okay. It looks like Mr. Price has something to add. No? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, we, like Mr. Spears talked about, we've got a member of the public that would like to address this, so or Josh, or,
Knife River first.
yeah, Knife River, excuse me. Do you mind unmuting Mr. Josh Smith? Josh, are you ready to speak on this item? Oh, you're in person.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you're
Well,
throwing me
actually,
for a loop.
Mr. Smith is online.
Oh, got it.
I'm Rick Tigran. I'm the Contracts Administration Manager at Knife River.
Love it. Thank you.
We just wanted to come before the commission today, so thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to you. And just point out the impact that this could have to the public in delaying this project. You know, going under contract with IMC and having them be unresponsive was an unfortunate circumstance. You know, I live in the neighborhood that borders this project, and there's traffic control signs that are already staged and ready to be set up. You know, we're in a position where we share a lot of the same subcontractors that IMC did, and we'd have the ability to start on this project almost immediately once, if you were to award the project to us. You know, there was a recommendation in the memo that I read that said that there's a potential that prices could come down or we could get a lower bid. Just from a contractor perspective, obviously with a vested interest, I can tell you that there's been hundreds of millions of dollars in public work that have been bid since this bid in December 6th, and our, like, a little bit of a look behind the veil, our internal costs have gone up at Knife River. I can't speak for IMC, I can't speak for Central Paving, but with the price that we put out there, we feel like that's a very fair price to do the work, and we would be very excited to take the project on should you so decide.
Thank you. Any questions for Knife River? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to talk on this item? Okay, commissioners.
Madam President,
Commissioner Hanson.
I would just ask if there was staff, since there's evidence in front of us that there would be no delay, but with these, because of the canals and other projects out in that area, we know that sometimes all it takes is a couple months and then you have to push it off for a year. Can I have staff respond to that?
And if I may add, as part of that consideration, you know, really the bottom line question is, if we rebid this project, we're delaying by at least 6 months. If we go forward, we're paying an extra $2 million-ish. Is 6 months worth $2 million? That's kind of what it boils down to. And also, do we have the potential, and this is probably a question for Mr. Price, if we did take that route and award the bid so that it can start now, would we still also be setting ourselves up for potential legal dispute with the low bidder?
Madam President, members of the commission, excuse me, for the record, Justin Lucas, Deputy Director of Planning and Projects here at the Highway District. I'll address those questions related to the technical aspects of the project and the timing, and I'm sure Mr. Price will address the questions related to any legal exposure. So when it comes to the timing, we're already in essentially the month of February, and although the commission certainly has options today, there would be a substantial amount of coordination with a new contractor that would have to occur before that contractor would be able to begin work on the project. So yes, there is going to be a delay on the project. The notice to proceed is in our rearview mirror right now. And so the new notice to proceed would have to be negotiated with any new contractor, and we would go from that point. So yes, there will be, I think, significant project timing related issues if we were to decide to continue moving forward now. I don't know exactly what those are, but certainly there would be coordination and scheduling issues related to specifically the irrigation work on the project, some of which we're essentially under the gun on right now and would need to be completed by the March deadline, and it's unknown today whether that is possible or not. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of discussions and timing issues associated with this if we were to switch gears on contractors at this point. So I wish I had more specifics, but that's just the state of the situation right now. When it comes to the other questions, I'm sure Mr. Price will answer those.
Thanks, Justin.
Madam President, Commissioners, again, Steve Price, General Counsel. The irrigation system, I'll kind of follow up with Mr. Lucas's on the timing. Irrigation system really starts turning on about March 15th. So we've got 30 days to get the irrigation work done. So that would be mobilization, a new NTP, and all of that happening. And I can just tell you that that is unlikely at best. Second point is that we're not quite sure of the timing of the Knife River. What they basically have done is they have fixed the licensing requirement. Once they found out that the Alloway was didn't have the proper licensing, then they negotiated with them to reduce the amount of their contract so that they would be under the licensing dollar amount and to make them responsive. But you can't do that after the bid. You have to, if they were going to have done that, you can't medicate an unresponsive bid. Second point is that the third bidder, Central Paving, their bid qualified, and they're $1.2 million over the lowest bidder. I believe Knife River's $1 million lower than that. So there's a difference between the low bidder and the next two. Well, the second, and then $1.2 million for the third. The $2 million is the difference between what our estimate was and what the lowest bid we received. So in these types of situations, especially when you have the whole licensor issue there, Mr. Spears reached out to the Idaho State Board of Building Safety on the licensing, and they made the conclusion that the first bid was unresponsive or was in violation of Idaho law. And in those situations, the practice of the district has consistently been to reject the bids and go back out. That's not to say that we haven't, but this is one of the most expensive projects in the history of the district. I don't recall a project being this expensive. We want to make sure we get it right. Now, can we get sued? We can always get sued. Am I worried that the district has any risk? No. The bidding laws are most certainly in our favor. And the commission, this commission has the discretion for those two options. That's your sole discretion.
Thanks, Steve. Commissioners. Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Yeah, she didn't even, I didn't have to raise my hand. She saw my intent. This is my district. I've been very much involved with issues pertaining to the right-of-way, property rights, and as Mr. Price said, this is probably the most expensive project in the district's history in terms of 1 mile of road, if nothing else. The way costs have absolutely not just ballooned, but exploded the last few years. And you've heard me mention this many, many times. As far as I'm concerned, either we're going to get this project done at the price that we were originally bid, or we're going to spend the money somewhere else. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Commissioner McKinney?
Yeah, I think just when all things considered, this is an awkward, difficult situation for everyone involved, and it's unfortunate that it worked out this way. But when we compare the two options here, it looks to me like any time savings that we might get from pushing forward now is unlikely to be significant. And so I look at that and I say, really, the best option is for us to go with option one, and that is to reject all the bids and rebid this. I don't think taking that other option would be a wise use of our taxpayer money, or would give us any benefit that would outweigh anything else. So I think we're just going to have to bite the bullet and say, yeah, reject the bids and do over.
Commissioner McKay, do you mind making a motion?
Sure. I'll move that we approve the bid rejection for the Lake Hazel Road and Eagle Road Lake Hazel Road to Amity ACHD project numbers 319050 and 521043.
Second that.
So moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Commissioner Hanson?
No, I just appreciate the staff. I don't think there's any malfeasance in any of this. We're talking about a licensure limit of $1.2.5 million, and between a Class A and a Class AA, and it's just 1.3. I mean, there's just such a small difference, and a difference of 6 days between the time they got the Class A and the Class AA licensure. So, but the law's the law, and they make us do this. So I agree that the best thing is a competitive environment. And we discussed the price tag on this last December, I think, which is extraordinary, which that's not going to go away. And I think a competitive environment and the staff recommendations justified by the facts that have been presented to us.
Thanks, Commissioner Hanson. Yeah, I just want to echo Commissioner McKinney's point and Commissioner Hanson's points about this is not great. There's no perfect option here, and I support this motion, so I'll be voting in favor. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so that is the end of our regular agenda. So I'm going to move into public communications. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the commission at this time? All right, well, meeting is adjourned. We're going to move into our post-commission agenda. All right, so our first item is City of Nampa. It's the follow-up request. Welcome, Tom.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners, for having us back. I really appreciate the discussion about moving west towards Canyon County. I think that's what we're here to talk about today. So thank you so much for making those comments. We're really looking forward to continued partnerships with ACHD. So I'm Tom Points. I'm the Senior Public Works Director in Nampa, and we brought some others from Nampa. So we have Doug Commissioner, there he is. He's a contract employee with us, helping us out with some transportation projects. And then we've got our Nampa Highway District in the back. So we've got Commissioner Noble and then Nick Lehman. He's the district engineer. And so all of us are working together to try to figure out how to address impacts around State Highway 16. So in fact, we came by the other day and met with the ACHD executive team to kind of talk about projects and things on the radar and things that are coming in the future. And I made the suggestion that it would be good if Nampa came by on a quarterly basis and talked to the commission about projects in our area. And so we'd like to do that and keep you informed. We've got some interesting things that I'll bring up next time about our traffic management center and crime detection. We've got some really awesome stats on that one. I want to share that with you, and also State Highway 16 to the south on what we're doing there. But today we want to talk about U-Stick Road and State Highway 16. And so we're back, and we have some answers to the questions that were brought forward back in December. I want to give you an update on the project and just looking for general direction from the commission on how to proceed. We're not asking for a hard dollar amount at this time. So just looking for direction. Next slide. There we go. Oh. Do I have? Okay, there we go. So this is the segment we're talking about, Phillips Canal to YE Storm. So like I said, we're going to briefly go over the benefits and the need for this project. There was a question about irrigation from Commissioner Hanson. We got an answer on that. and then a funding update and next steps. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a summary of the needs and benefits. So as we know, State Highway 16 is coming in. There'll be interchanges at Ustick and Franklin. And so the Ustick corridor study that we've completed shows that at 2045, if the do nothing option, the traffic increases by 632%. So that's significant. It's not, we know that the four-way stops will not be able to handle that. And also there will be, this project that we're talking about will bring in bike and ped facilities as a benefit. Improved safety for all users and capacity and conductivity to other work that ACHD is doing around State Highway 16. Next slide. So here's the irrigation question. So this graphic you see right here is Star Road and Ustick. So this is going to be a signalized intersection. And so there is an impact on the northwest corner there. So the Safford lateral, there's a short section. As we looked more into the design details, Commissioner Hanson, we've noticed this. And so that estimated cost of $500,000, and you also mentioned we have to work within irrigation windows. There's other minor irrigation along that route, but it's nothing that we can't deal with. One of the things we're talking about and working with ACHD staff is maybe we could shift that intersection a little bit to the east and avoid some of the impacts on that corner, on the northwest corner. Next slide.
Madam President, Tom, before we go on,
Commissioner McKinney?
could I just ask a quick question to be sure I'm oriented with respect to where is the county line in this location? Is it McMillan Road, the county line, and McDermott? Is that, or is Ustick the county line here?
Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, Ustick is the county line.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we're doing a lot together already. So here's a list of some of the partnership projects that we've got going on. So Franklin, McDermott, the Black Cat, that's a three-way partnership between all three of us agencies. Nampa and Nampa Highway District are participating in the intersection there at McDermott. Franklin, Star to McDermott, so that's all being funded by Nampa through impact fees, city property tax, gas tax. We did get 1.5 million allocation from the ITD board a couple of years ago through the Amazon money that was set aside for impacts in the region. So, and then we have Ustick, Hawaii Storm to Black Cat. That's a partnership project between Nampa Highway District and ACHD, which is currently, I understand, under design. And then we've got the Ustick Canada Hawaii Storm. So that's the project that we want to keep discussing with you as a future potential partnership. You may recall Nampa Highway District sent a letter of support to the commission about 30 days ago saying that they're in on this one. And so we're also preparing an MOU with them on that partnership. So we're doing our best to mitigate impacts on 16. We got a good history of cooperation. Just a quick numbers here. We're estimating that Nampa Highway District, between all these projects, has 1.7 million of revenues towards this partnership. Nampa has 20 million, which 10 million is the grant that we got for the Strategic Initiatives Program. And then ACHD, we're estimating around 30 million you've already got invested in this corridor. One of the questions was, where is City of Meridian on this? We approached the City of Meridian and they were hesitant to do a letter of support because they didn't want to confuse previously communicated priorities. So, okay, next slide. Okay, again, we did get a $10 million grant from ITD and the state program for this project. The selection committee was very, very clear during the selection process, they wanted a complete roadway. We were originally planning a 3-lane section just on the Canyon County side of Ustick, but they said that the decision maker said it's very important to have a complete street, and there's lots of reasons for that. It's, you know, less minimized to the public. The longer you wait, the inflationary costs go up, like you were just talking about on your prior project. So there's lots of good reasons to do that. And then over here on your right, you can see the numbers. So the design costs roughly 1.4 million. And then right-of-way on, so you got the Canyon County side shown on the left, and then the right is the Ada County side. So those are the dollars and the construction dollars as well. So on the Canyon County side, it's roughly $12 million worth of cost. So the reason that number is a little bit bigger is because we're already planning on building the Star U-Stick intersection, and that was part of the grant, and that was on the Ada County side. So that's and then ACHD's portion would be up to $9 million. So we have 2 years basically per the contract for our grant to get this constructed, which is very aggressive. We believe we can do it, but waiting to start design and looking at right of way, we won't be able to make that 2 windows. We're kind of under a time crunch. So we have kicked off a contract with Parametrics for the 1.4 million for them to do the design for the full 5-lane section. And we understand that the commission has not made a decision whether you're going to participate or not, and we understand that's a risk, and we're willing to take that because we believe that we need to move quickly through this timeline. So we're planning on design in 24, right-of-way acquisition in the fall of 24, construction in 25. We're also working with your staff to make sure that the design standards are something that ACHD would maintain and like. So we want to make sure that we get a good product at the end. Okay, next slide, please. So like I said, we're not asking for a firm financial commitment. You saw the numbers. The half of the design is up to $750,000, and we're not asking for anything today. We're just asking for direction how we move forward. We also know we would actually, and be willing, and we have it in the budget to front the money for the full construction and all the design for ACHD. But unfortunately, with Idaho code and this green box here under the Constitution, there'd be some question whether that would be the commission taking on debt without a bond vote. So that's the risk that I don't think is an option. But certainly we could go up to a year of this, and we're willing to front the design money and move forward at this time. So if we do have a potential partnership, here's some ideas on some timelines. We think we'd be ready for right-of-way in August of 24, 1.5 million, and we don't need the construction money until next year, which gives time to plan and budget and see if there's some options to get that in your budget. So that's 6.7 million. We also know there's some legislative discussions happening as we speak. So, we also know that that's part of your decision. So, next slide. All right. So we're just we want to partner with the Ada County Highway District. We're just looking for some feedback on how to move forward, some direction, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thanks, Tom. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Hanson? Oh.
Yeah,
Commissioner Goldthorpe, excuse me.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you've said. Trust me. And if I were in your position, I'd be here asking the same things. Just as I mentioned the last time you were here, and just briefly, nothing has really changed there, for my opinion. And I am aware that costs might go up. I just hope we're successful getting some additional money from the legislature because, again, as I've said many, many times, this is not necessarily a project that is of any immediate benefit to the citizens of Ada County. And because we're so far behind in our infrastructure improvements, considering the growth that's occurred here, it's just incumbent upon me to remember that part of the equation always. Thank you.
Commissioner McKinney?
Yeah, this is one of those situations where I really wish we could do this. And if there were a way that we could find the funds to dive right in, because absolutely, I want this. This is great. The trouble is we've got so much money already allocated to other things, and we're already, our Highway 16 related improvements that are already slated to go in already exceed the amount, their cost exceeds the amount that's been allocated by the state. And I don't know if there's any, if we can find some funding source to do this, I'd be all for it, because that's the problem. That's the challenge. Where do we get the money? If we have the money, I would be absolutely a cheerleader to push this forward. And that's really, and I don't have all the detailed information that staff would have about, what's allocated where and where the money's coming from and where it's going. Don't have that on the tip of my tongue, but I think everyone in this commission sees that, yeah, this makes perfect sense. And I really wish we could do it. And I'd like to be able to do it if there is a way. And I don't know if our staff can get creative and find a way, or as Commissioner Goldthorpe said, maybe find a way to get some additional funding from the state. If we can, I'm right there with you, in favor of this, because it needs to be done. It has to be done eventually anyway. And we are already making improvements on Ustick Road related to the Highway 16 project. It's just that the Highway 16 related stuff at Ustick Road doesn't have the extent of this project. And so finding a way to fund that, that's the challenge. So this is good, and I wish we could do it. That's about all I can say, really. But thank you for coming, because we definitely want to continue talking about this, because, what you're asking for is a perfectly rational thing to look for. So thank you.
Yeah, Tom, I think I would be really supportive of, our staff working with you on that design, where it makes sense, since you guys are fronting that cost, and just making sure that it's meeting, our standards as well. And I have had some conversations internally with our staff, so that, because this was quite a shock to me, at least, that, oh my gosh, we share a road with another organization in this way. Like, that's just bananas to me. And so we've started, I don't know if any of this has trickled over to you, but I think in a parallel conversation, we need to be talking about, how do we assign, okay, you're going to have jurisdiction over this segment, and similar to what we do with ITD, for example, right? So there's sections that we maintain, and so we don't run into this issue again where we're splitting a road half and half between two different jurisdictions. So I think be really supportive of seeing some agreement moving forward that clarifies this, so that even if it's on the county line, you guys are taking care of a certain part, and then we're responsible for another segment. So, and then looking to make sure that we don't have this issue with any other jurisdictions across the county. So, and I would agree, we're having conversations with certain members of the legislature to see if we can find some funding, and just echo what the other commissioners have said, but we want to continue to see how we can support you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Henson?
Madam President and Tom, I appreciate you coming here. We just had a meeting with the City of Meridian, sharing and talking about their priorities, which of course we, as the other commissioners have noted, we don't have the resources to move forward on all of their priorities simultaneously. For the City of Meridian, it appears that, the movement the progress we've made on Linder is really, really important. Linder is a top priority for them. They raised another priority is the portion of Ustick to the east from the new maintenance yard to the east. And they've also raised a priority about preservation potential right away along McMillan. So what's critical is that Meridian not only be consulted, but it's their priorities. It has to be part of their priorities too, because it's not ACHD that is north of Ustick, it's Meridian or Meridian's area of influence. And so it's really important that partnership be there. But this is the beginning of, I think, sort of the future, which is the way in which the taxpayers in Ada County, the residents of Ada County decide how to build out infrastructure that is to provide facilities for residents of Canyon County and vice versa. And that's where it's critical, I think, that we integrate the trip generation models that come out of Compass that say this is where the trips are originating. And that should help inform both in terms of prioritization and in allocation of resources, where the trips are coming from and going to, so that we know we can meet those demands. And so I'd say that'd be an integral part of how we decide how to allocate resources and prioritize. So that's what I would say moving forward. I also say it sounds like, I'm looking to our right-of-way team, it sounds like your right-of-way folks seem very ambitious in trying to resolve all the right-of-way issues by August. Given the amount of time and effort it takes us to resolve right-of-way issues on a similar segments, 1 mile segments, it seems like that seems very optimistic. I'm looking at one staff member saying, yeah, that's probably not really realistic, but that's where I think our partnership and the expertise that we've developed over the years, it can partner with jurisdictions to the west of the county, over which we are not legally allowed to spend any money, can work together. At least we can share our expertise.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Madam President, Commissioners, for all your comments. Commissioner Hanson, I do like that idea about the trip generation. I'll talk to Compass about that. That's a good idea. So would it be okay if I come back in 3 months with an update on where we're at? Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Look forward to it. All right. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. So then we've got an executive session, but we'll take a 10-minute break before we convene in the back. So see everyone next week.